year, there were roughly 6 bills introduced that dealt with the issue of fracking. The one bill that passed the legislature last year and was signed by the governor, SB 4. SB 4 provides mechanisms and requirements for the state to work with local air quality and water districts to develop rules and regulations to supervise drilling activity, to monitor for pollution. And most importantly, SB 4 will require the disclosure of all fluids and chemicals used in hydraulic fracturing. This is the first in the nation as a rule which will enable California to fully understand what is being pumped into the ground. If you go to frackfocus.com, you can use a Google Map-like feature and highlight every well in California. You can see if a well has been fractured, when the well was fractured, and a list of all chemicals used in the fracturing process.
So beneath the surface of the earth, we have vital resources that we've already heard about, such as water and petroleum, hydrocarbons, oil or gas. And these can be found within cracks or within the pore space of the rocks themselves. They can be close to the surface, or they can be hundreds to thousands of feet below the surface. So the thing about the stress field is that we would love to know where it is everywhere, because that would really help us tell if faults were going to slip, and it would help us tell what's going to happen if we try to drill a hole or cause a hydraulic fracture. Because if the fault slips, it could cause an earthquake, which I think is a large part of the public concern about this technology, is whether it causes earthquakes.
Then the question becomes, fundamentally, what is hydraulic fracturing? It's used to stimulate fluid flow to the well within the zone of interest.
The Assembly member asked me to briefly talk about how we manage the groundwater basins. We actually do a calculation of how much is groundwater, how much is imported water. Metropolitan Water District, our imported water supply, has 3 conjunctive use groundwater programs in the Central Basin that could potentially be affected if the groundwater were contaminated, not only from improper fracking procedures, but also just contaminated in general.
So in terms of, why frack, we all know why it is, and you've seen a lot of charts by the experts here in fracking, and I'm not going to tell you I'm an expert on fracking, but I am an expert in water. I just kind of try to summarize environmental concerns from fracking in general. And of course, I've described a couple of them having to do with water. Nuisance, that is the oil, the noise, traffic, and odor where they occur within urban areas. Surface water contamination, soil contamination, wastewater disposal, air pollution, water supply, natural habitat, earthquakes. We've talked about some of those, not about all of them, but all of them are of concern to every one of you. And so we should be concerned about how this practice is taking place.
We understand the potential impacts, and we continue to look at how we need to regulate and control this going forward. And so we've come a long way since we started last year in initiating a lot of these conversations. So I would look at it as sort of the door being open. These forums and opportunity to sort of bring that conversation down to the district is what's important for me, so I can continue to hear what the thoughts are. And certainly if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us.